All right, let's get started. Wow. The signature form of boredom introduced to millions of workers by the Industrial Revolution was tedium, state of being tedious. That's the name we give to the specific boredom that comes from repetition. An experience that can be even more claustrophobic than the experience of having nothing to do. Grows from having to perform a task that requires one's attention but doesn't absorb it and to do it over and over and over again. Doesn't matter what the task is, because once a task is repeated often enough, it no longer requires the same attention. Think about the first few times you drive a car, your entire being is absorbed with complete focus on the combination of maneuvers necessary to keep the car safely on the road. There seems to be too much information. The other cars, the street signs, the directions, the feedback on the dashboard. There's an even match. There's an even match between the amount of information processed and your attentional capacity. I would have to disagree with this. It says, so I'm going to read the paragraph. Think about the first few times you drive a car. Your entire being is absorbed your entire being is absorbed with complete focus on the complicated combination of maneuvers necessary to keep the car safely on the road. There almost seems to be too much information. The other cars, the street signs, the directions, the feedback on the dashboard. There's an even match. But there's an even match between the amount of information to process and your attentional capacity. Your fight or flight system is firing, your heartbeat elevated as if you were in combat or hunted as prey. But over time, as you get more experience, the task becomes automatic. Going for a drive when you're first learning how to do it can be a lot of things, thrilling, frightening, but it's not boring. Once you become an accomplished driver, a long drive, even with podcasts and audiobooks, can be punishingly dreary. Every time I drive, um, every time I drive, every time I drive, I this is so interesting because I have to focus on everything, the street signs, um, how fast I'm going, um, cars in front of me, cars behind me, cars next to me, how fast they're going, what lane I'm um, what lane I should be in order not to make um, so when you drive on the highway, right? There's that I don't know if there's a specific name for the lane where other vehicles enter. So let's for example, let's say there are three lanes, right, in a highway. The left lane, which is the fast lane, the middle lane, and then the right lane, where a lot of cars come in or exit. So if I were to exit I would have to think about when I should go in order to minimize stress, right? Because if it's a highway where a lot of vehicles are coming in, then I would have to manage my speed, and also reciprocate um, for other cars. It's just a lot of it absorbs a lot of attention. I don't know. I've been driving for a while, and every time I drive, um, it just takes a long time. And for me, a long drive is, well, I don't like it because that means I have to focus for that long. You know, give it 2 hours of long. 2 hours one way. I that's I don't even want to imagine. Same can happen for all kinds of tasks, no matter how complex and difficult. No matter how complex and difficult. I've talked to Broadway stars who say that months into an 8-show-a-week run, they'll find themselves delivering a tear-filled show-stopping singing number, their body pouring sweat while their inner monologue is running through to-do list items and what they need to pick up at the grocery store the next day to make their kids' lunches. This is an extreme example that flows from the natural adaptability of the human mind. Through repetition and training, we learn to do complex tasks. They become essentially preconscious, and once they become preconscious, they no longer occupy our focus, no longer absorb all our attention, and then boredom rush in to fill the gap. This is a very interesting take, huh? And once they become preconscious, they no longer occupy our focus, no longer absorb all our attention, and then boredom will rush in to fill the gap. I mean, that's, well, I'm not gonna compete against Broadway stars, months who are months into an 8-show week run. Hmm. I don't know about that. Yeah. Um. Hmm. What I'm trying to say is, I feel like the better you, especially for something creative like this, expressive. I feel like there is essentially no limit. Um, Once you learn how to do something well, that's, you know, you realize that there is another terrain that is filled with um, things to discover. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, because for me, the more I listen to music, the more I realize, um, the more I realize that there are different things, different concepts in different people's minds. Um, and when I would go back to some of the songs that I enjoyed listening to, or some of the songs that I enjoyed listening to, um, I know I just repeated myself, but what I meant to say was some of the songs that so songs that I enjoyed in my teenage years versus songs that I've begun to think fondly of, maybe let's say a year or two ago. They would be very different, right? So if I were to hear them, I would realize these little snippets of things that I don't recall hearing when I first listened, or when I repeatedly listened to the song. It's a very interesting thing, and that makes me realize that, why didn't I hear them? Or maybe I just don't remember. I would never be sure, but I am pretty sure that I would remember, given that I've listened to these songs more than a few times, right? Especially if it's something that I remember fondly of. So I feel like the more you really get into it, I feel like so what I'm trying to disagree on is this last part, when and then boredom will rush in to fill the gap. I feel like boredom can't fit in the first place. Like boredom can't even get in on the gap. If there's a gap there, then more desire. Oh my god. Then desire to learn about on how to do better, or how to listen better, or how to decipher certain things differently is gonna fill that gap. And what I'm trying to say is that gap is never going to be filled. It's gonna just, you know, as in, if one gap is filled, then another one will be there, and it's gonna be an incessant cycle. Whatever the net improvements industrial capitalism conferred, it's arguable that it introduced a new form of mental tyranny for the millions who moved from fields to factories. Drudgery exists to pile for industrial capitalism, harvesting wheat, chopping wood, shuffling stables, and on. But pre-industrial life moved in more seasonal rhythms. I feel like with this, people don't realize that they're bored. People just do it because they gotta make a living, and because it's an assigned task. But they don't realize that on the days where they feel off, or like, people don't realize that they're bored. If that you know that ominous feeling of repetition, that tedious feeling, that doesn't that so that they have that ominous feeling, but that doesn't translate into um some, like, a tedious work, or a feeling of boredom. I feel like the people have actually coined the term as boredom, like that need of, like, it's like it's like you're explaining to a kid. They're explaining what they felt when they first fell in love, and you're telling the kid about. You're essentially telling the kid what it is, but the emotions that you're telling the kid are only it's only, it's yours, or it could be those from the people that you know of, or etc. But it's unique to this individuals. Um. Ah, freak. I don't know how to coin this properly. I've So what I'm trying to say is, it's like smartphones, and like how we came about resolving our boredom, and how we came about solving this sense of loneliness, and by smartphones, by social media. But instead, I mean, there's the obvious term of how social media has deepened the well of loneliness. It actually, instead of filling it with water and having it, with um giving us water to quench our thirst, quench our loneliness. It instead created this bottomless hole where water should have been, and we can't even fetch for water anymore, and now we're all dying of thirst. Don't get me wrong, I think social media is not all evil, obviously, right? It's um, I've had my few moments of how social media really helped tackle my loneliness. Um, but I do agree on, if it's not used properly, it's it's like a double-edged sword. It's not like, it is a double-edged sword. Um, I'm going on a tangent here. I forget what I was trying to explain. It was about identifying that state of tediousness, and you know what? Damn. All right, never mind. Terrible. I'm terrible at this. But pre-industrial life moved in more seasonal rhythms, and featured more variety in tasks: sowing in the spring, reaping in the fall, hunkering down in the winter. Whereas in the factory, the worker found themselves now doing the same single thing day in and day out, no matter the season, all day and all year long. Karl Marx identified this transformation as the root of alienation. The division of labor reduced men into a single dimension, for as soon as the division of labor comes into being, each man has a particular exclusive sphere of activity, which is forced upon him and from which he cannot escape. Marx's dream was to create a society in which it would be possible for me to do one thing today and another tomorrow, do one in the morning, fish in the afternoon, rear cattle in the evening, criticize after dinner, just as I have a mind without ever becoming hunter, fisherman, herdsman, or critic. Nearly a century after Marx wrote those words, John Maynard Keynes also took up the relationship between economic development and boredom, though what he identified was in many ways the opposite of what Marx had focused on. If the industrial capitalism of Marx's day had condemned millions to stultifying repetition, from his Keynes argued that the future of capitalism would produce so much bounty that soon we would all be freed from having to work at all, rather than the specific boredom of tedium confined to the same tasks that occupied our attention without absorbing it. We would soon face a new challenge, which was simply not having enough to do. A kind of this what Keynes thought ushered in an identity crisis, unbound from material constraints in a way no creature on earth has ever been. What exactly would be the purpose of human life? If the economic problem is solved, he wrote, mankind will be deprived of its traditional purpose. You know, I really think, right, like, we are so behind. Um, like, what we have with phones nowadays, what we have with videos, what we have with pictures, they are so ancient, in my opinion. I feel like in the future, in the distant future, we're gonna have the ability to literally travel memories. Like, we're gonna have the ability to travel to this memory, to this day, and literally, we're gonna have the ability to reshape well, not actually reshape, but reshape the future in that specific time, if that even makes sense. So let's say let's say a week ago, I I made this choice, but then this choice was not the optimal choice. It actually messed up a couple of things, and or it could have been better. It could have been better, or you're curious about had I taken had I said this instead of this, what would have been, that kind of thing. So out of that curiosity, you're able to kind of go back and make that choices. Obviously, the how the future is gonna be like, in that obviously it's not gonna be the future. It's just gonna be like a projected kind of closed future that you are writing for yourself. It's like a dream, like a happy dream, but you are not aware of it. You are not aware that the outcome of the false reality that you made by making a different choice is the one that you unconsciously thought of, if that even makes sense. So let's say let's say you let's say instead of let's say you gave a homeless man $50, right? um but then you're curious of, what would have happened if I gave this man $1,000. So you go back to that time, and then you give the man $1,000, and he thanks you so much. He literally just cries in front of your feet, and then you take him to a hotel, and then you help him wash up so he can get a job, right? So he can, and you buy him a nice suit at a local clothing tailored store. I don't know. And then you help him get a job. You take him to the library, and you help him get a job. You get him all cleaned up, and you are proud of yourself for help bringing about a change in one stranger's life, who is as equal a human as you, right? But all that unconsciously is just, you know, a self masturbating kind of your it's a masturbation of your ego, kind of, but you are not aware of it. And I've So this is like another kind of just fun for thought scene that scenario that I had of how the future with memories are going to be like. Other very realistic um, technology, in my opinion, that will be available in the future, in my opinion, is the ability to literally see things as it was. So you close your eyes, and then you imagine yourself going back to like 2 weeks before, and you open, let's say, on a vacation. You record a vacation. Um, let's say you were in Greece, or you were in Paris, or you were in Korea. You are able to relive that moment. Everything just feels like as if you were there. So let's say you're in your bed right now, but then you go back to this time when you were near the Eiffel Tower. The weather was beautiful, you know, crispy wind. The wind is crisp. The wind is crisp. Um, just, there are kids. Noises of kids, bystanders, everything. It's just beautiful, right? And you're enjoying whatever food you got. you are literally able to relive that moment. Um, you're able to feel the wind, even though you're home, in your bed, and the windows are everything's just closed, and the room's at a constant temperature. Um, you're able to feel that wind. You're able to feel that. Um, you're able to see the Eiffel Tower. You're able to do it. Just it's crazy madness. Or let's say you are in Greenland, you're able to feel that coldness that you felt, that you don't remember, that you don't exactly remember, right? You don't exactly remember, but you remember that it was cold, but you don't exactly remember that temperature, if that even makes sense, right? Like let's say, let's say that let's say you showered today, right? And you took a cold shower or hot shower. You remember that you took a hot shower or a cold shower, but there's a very very good chance that you don't exactly remember. You don't exactly remember how that hot water or cold water felt on your back, on your neck, on your head, on your scalp, right, on your ears. You don't exactly, or your fingertips. You don't exactly remember how each droplet felt as it was leaving, as it was coming down on your fingertips. That's what I'm trying to say. So that I feel like in the future that sort of technology is gonna be available, and it's gonna essentially just, you're gonna be like like holy shit. It's nothing that we have right now. Nothing of like this video, nothing like this audio. Um, and we're gonna have the time, thanks to capitalism, we're gonna have the ability to literally share memories like that, and that's gonna be valued. You know, and think about that. I really think this is gonna be. I really think this is gonna be something that's gonna be available in the future. Like you're gonna be able to sell your memories to others for some money. Um, and obviously that's gonna, you know, the very thing that very thing I can think about right now that's gonna make the most money is probably pornography, right? There's gonna be these guys with memories that say that, oh yeah, I yeah, I slept with this guy, or I slept with this girl, or yeah, so sad. Yeah, but anyways, I feel like something like that's gonna happen in the very not so distant future. I mean, for Christ's sake, there have been talks that about by 2049, we're gonna have technology available that's gonna essentially give us solutions for a lot of difficult things: world hunger, plastic, um, global warming, space travel, etc. What I am looking forward to is nanotechnology. I've been looking into that for a very long time. Oh my god, this thing turning off. All right, I'm gonna stop babbling. I don't know why I don't know why I went on a babble for like 20 minutes, or how long it was. Just read this. Oh, damn, I did babble for a long time. Okay, this. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But this, when it says so, Keynes thought would usher in an identity crisis, unbound from material constraints in a way no creature on earth has ever been. What exactly would be the purpose of human life? If the economic problem is solved, he wrote, mankind will be deprived of its traditional purpose. I what I don't know. I really don't agree with this. If the economic problem is solved, well, people would wouldn't people want to live, like actually live, like travel everywhere, experience different things? It's not even gonna be about money, right? Because I feel like there will be there will be people that will still serve food, um, provide shelter just out of the goodness of their heart. One, because those people now recognize that they don't have to specifically be bounded with working. I feel like this is the thing. So correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like once people have this, I feel like people become much nicer once they have some sort of financial stability on their back. It's the same thing as, people who know happiness are more likely to provide and give happiness, right? This I don't have any specific studies for it, but this is just an old hearing that I uh, I was taught, um, which was, um, what was it? Children who have been exposed to domestic violence, via their parents are likely to show that behavior as they get when they get older, to either their spouses or to their children. So whatever they learned in households, um, they are more likely to express them unconsciously. I think this ties in with, once they realize how beautiful a world can be, I feel like people are more able to, just be nicer to each other, if that even makes sense. Because once, how is someone who has never been loved supposed to show love? Or how is someone who has been bullied all their life supposed to show compassion and sympathy and, kindness? How how has how is someone who's, been scavenging for food, been, like struggling to fight every day in order to feel at least, excuse me, to eat, you know at least, at most a meal, supposed to know how to have this thought of sharing, you know it's not, obviously it's not for everyone, right? Just the human mind is just too vast to encompass, to encapsulate certain thing as as um as a must thing. I think the only thing is something that's physical. If you don't breathe in, if you don't breathe, you're gonna die, right? It's the same thing. Something as absolute as that. Um, but with something, yeah, traditional purpose. Why would it cause an identity crisis? Not everyone believes that they're workers, though. I don't know. Some of us just are constrained with this capitalism bullshit. All right. I read this book. Is it too bright? Is that why you guys can't see it? I mean, it's better for me. Oh, now you guys can see it. Yeah. So this book, I'm gonna call it. I've been reading it for what? I read it, yeah, in my previous session, and for another 50. Wow, I spent like 20 minutes yapping. But yeah, I'm gonna read something else for the next 5 minutes. I do want to do another one, but I feel like I'm gonna be really, really tired. We'll see. I was reading about this gentleman who got his hand stuck on a boulder, and eventually, after 6 days, he had to cut it off. So let's see what happens to this man. Let's see how that happens in the next 5 minutes that I have. I'm probably um we'll see. I might do another one right after. I'll see. I might just get water. I need some sugar. Help me focus. Actually, I'll probably just do 3 or 4 tomorrow. I don't know. I'm pretty tired, and I've worn my contacts for 12 hours. Okay, never mind. I can't read this. I'm already not interested. Sorry, man. I don't care. Oh, there is this book called Salt, Sugar, Fat. This is the book that I got from this this other book that I was reading. Should I read that? I really do want to finish reading The Broom of the System by Wallace so I can move on to his other books. But it's just like, I don't know what the heck is going on. It's so weird. Speaking of weird, maybe I should read The Crying of the Lot, 49. Erpa más, mucho más. Más. One of the biggest kind of sadness that I feel when reading fiction is I don't understand the complicated. I'm not gonna say complicated. I don't understand the humor. Like I have most of the humor comes from the narcissistic side of me. But I don't think I've ever captured a funny point that the author actually intended. When author wrote and kind of thought to him or herself like, this is a funny passage that I wrote, or oh, this one's pretty funny. I don't think I captured or understood any of those bits, which is really sad. Okay, I thought my mic was off. I would have been very sad if my mic was off. Thank God. Oh, I read this. Okay, I was here. Those might be the very best thing for him. A nervous little motherfucker, man. Always scratching at his beard. It makes me itchy. Sit down. You're getting my nerves. How the hell did he write this when he was not when he was in his mid 20s? Not even mid 20s. He was before 25, I think. He wrote this when he was like what, 23, 24? Oh, he published this when he was around that age. So he wrote this a while earlier, I guess. I'll see you guys either tomorrow or in less than 17 minutes if I decide to do another one, which I very most likely will not since I am so tired. Bye.